Thanks for joining this episode of our webinar series on best practices in e-discovery and digital forensics. Today's session is focused on the landscape-changing shift in data that has taken place over the past decade. Digital transformation and migration to the cloud has shifted much of the evidentiary ESI for legal cases to the cloud platforms. New location, new platforms, and new automated data governance and retention policies can cause a host of challenges with preserving and securing the critical evidence for your case. Today, you'll hear about what types of evidence are available from the leading cloud platforms and the best practice you should incorporate into your forensic collection strategy. My name is Jeff Fugit. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for Lexby, and I'll be the moderator for today's event. We've got a lot of information to cover, so I'll jump right in. Our webinars take place monthly and cover a variety of relevant e-discovery and digital forensic topics, trends, best practices, and strategies. We've got limited seating, so be sure to register early for the sessions that are of interest to you. If you have technical issues or questions, please email us at webinars@lexby.com and we'll address those right away. Our webinars are available online at lexby.com for viewing via streaming video or downloadable as a PDF presentation or MP3 podcast. You'll find this webinar and a complete listing of other webinars at lexby.com, as well as on our YouTube channel. So go visit us there and be sure to follow us, and you'll be notified of all the new webinars. If you have any questions during today's session, please enter them in the Q&A portion of the GoToWebinar console, and we'll answer them after the event. To be notified of future live and on-demand events, please email us at webinars@lexby.com or follow us on LinkedIn. For more than 17 years, Lexby's been helping legal teams with limited resources handle document-intensive matters. We have the industry's most affordable and full-featured DIY cloud-based e-discovery platform. This also includes over 7 artificial intelligence algorithms that assist our clients with their cases. This also helps our clients keep e-discovery in-house and helps them maintain full control over their cases. We have the industry's fastest e-discovery processing and document review platform. This is important because being fast means it gives you the time you need to build your strongest case. We deliver that industry's fastest return on investment. We do that because we get you set up faster, we get you trained faster, we get you working in the platform faster, and we're highly cost efficient. We're also rated as the e-discovery company that's the easiest to do business with, the easiest to deploy, and with the best customer service. We're also a high performer and the easiest to administer. We have a full forensic lab staffed with Celebrite certified forensic investigators who perform full and targeted forensic collections. And if you'd like a demonstration of our platform, simply email us at sales@lexby.com and we'll get that scheduled. Joining us today is Nick Marrero. Nick is the Digital Forensics Manager at Lexby and a frequent guest speaker on our webinar series. He heads up our Digital Forensics Lab that's equipped with industry-leading tools like Celebrite and Axiom Magnet Forensics, as well as a host of other tools. He has over 13 years experience in digital forensics. He is Celebrite certified and has a bachelor's degree in computer forensics from Bloomsburg University of Pennsylvania. Before I turn it over to Nick, I'm going to discuss some of the leading cloud platforms and their impact on evidentiary ESI. More and more frequently, we're seeing that these platforms are becoming front and center to evidentiary ESI in specific cases. In addition, these cloud platforms are also being impacted by government regulations, and in some cases, there may be multiple repositories of ESI data if there are data boundaries set up, like what you've seen Microsoft do with what the EU was requiring. Also, data governance, implementation, and data retention capabilities of these platforms often call into question if evidence has been willfully destroyed. So we'll get into that discussion further as well. So on this slide, you'll see 2 of the leading cloud-based productivity platforms. Microsoft and Google are battling it out for supremacy in the cloud application and productivity space. They both have very robust offerings, with Microsoft having a slight edge in features and functionality, predominantly because of their legacy Microsoft Office offering that was ultimately migrated to the cloud and then saw the addition of OneDrive, the acquisition of Skype, and then the deployment of Microsoft Teams. Google was a little later to the game, but has developed a solid and cost-effective offering. Since all the platforms we're going to discuss today are cloud-based, and there are low-cost versions of these accounts for individuals, you need to take into consideration that custodians may have multiple accounts and that all accounts are accessible from their mobile devices as well as their workstations or laptops. This often results in data being transferred or ported from one platform to another or from one account to another. Google allows users to download a Google Sheet in an Excel format, which can then be opened in Microsoft Excel. This is why it's critical to gain access to the audit log, which Nick is going to discuss in more detail, to make sure that you can follow the trail and track the evidentiary ESI that you need for your case. In addition, with mobile devices often being the central point of access for both corporate and personal accounts on these platforms, it is increasingly simple to port data from a corporate account to a personal account and vice versa, especially with bring your own device or BYOD programs that a lot of enterprises have implemented. Conducting a forensic investigation more often than not should also include these mobile devices to ensure that you can identify the evidence you need for your cases. During custodian interviews, it is also important to press for visibility into the accounts and utilize a data map to identify the critical evidentiary repositories. One last thing to note is that while these productivity platforms are similar in their service offerings, the data and how they handle specific functions can be highly differentiated. As an example, Gmail and Outlook have different approaches to email responses and threading. Utilizing an e-discovery platform like Workspace can help eliminate any issues and gives you full email thread visualization and analysis in a normalized view. It can also help you quickly identify missing emails, perhaps from a missing custodial collection or perhaps something that was dropped out of a production. This slide shows the daily active users of Microsoft Teams versus Slack. So Microsoft's Office legacy gave them a significant market advantage with a huge installed base of customers. When they launched Teams in 2017, it was an additional paid version to the Office suite. And then in 2020, they switched to a free version that's fully available through Office 365. As you can see, the number of daily active users exploded and rapidly surpassed Slack. So that's no surprise. Microsoft's huge install base, when you offer them something free, you see that utilization go way up. The really interesting aspect of Teams and Slack, Google Chat, and other messaging collaboration platforms is that the chat function often lends itself to more casual, less formal styles of communication. You'll also find a lot of emojis, photos, attachments that make it a really rich source of evidentiary ESI. To that point, sentiment analysis of these communications can also help you quickly identify relevant dialogue for your matter. So whether it's positive in tone or negative in tone, sentiment analysis can be a great tool to utilize when reviewing these types of communications and dialogue from these sources. I was speaking with an IP litigator that indicated chat and collaboration platforms are a primary source of evidentiary ESI for her cases. She said, quote, "I often find the juicy evidence in these channels." The one issue with these platforms is that you can implement information governance and retention policies that automatically remove the data after a period of time. You'll want to keep this in consideration of your ESI preservation strategy to ensure that you'll have access to the evidence that you need for your case. All right, now I'm going to ask for your participation in some polling questions to help set the stage for Nick's presentation. And our first polling question, what percentage of your cases involve evidence from Microsoft Office 365, Google Workspace, or Slack? And while you're answering that, I will thank you for participating in our polling questions today. All right, I'll go ahead and close that poll. And our next polling question is, what is your confidence level of identifying the cloud-based evidence you need for your case during custodian interviews? All right, we've got a few more answers coming in. And I'll go ahead and close that poll. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Nick Marrero. Nick.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Nick Marrero, and I'm the Digital Forensics Manager at Lexby. Today, we're going to be going over cloud productivity platforms and their forensic collections. So we'll be discussing different platforms, including Office 365, Google, and Slack and Teams. Today's schedule, we'll be going over having an overview of the productivity platforms themselves. And then we'll be discussing the forensic collections of those different platforms. Another hot topic would be deleted data from productivity platforms that we can either retrieve or we won't be able to. So what are productivity platforms? Most of you will know exactly what these are, maybe just not in this name, but these are suites that are put together by certain tech companies that, like Microsoft or Google, are a comprehensive set of applications and tools designed to efficiency, organization, and collaboration in personal and professional contexts. These platforms typically include a combination of software applications that cover various aspects of productivity, such as communication, document creation and management, task and project management, and collaboration. So productivity platforms often consist of core applications like word processors, spreadsheets, presentation software, and even email clients. They also include additional tools such as note-taking applications, cloud and file sharing solutions, calendars and scheduling features, different communication and collaboration tools, and project management capabilities. These platforms aim to provide a specialized and integrated environment where users can access and manage their work-related tasks and documents, communications, and so some examples of productivity platforms. It's kind of a wide variety of the different types of platforms and what they offer. So, for example, Google Workspace, which was formerly G Suite, and Microsoft Office 365 are very similar. These types of platforms are comprehensive suites of productivity tools that enhance collaboration, communication, and workflow efficiency within the organization. And both platforms offer a range of applications and services that integrate seamlessly and provide various features to support individual and team productivity. And then there are others like Slack and Microsoft Teams that are considered productivity platforms, but they're a bit different as these are much more geared towards communication and collaboration. So these would be platforms where you're able to quickly communicate with your team members in private messages or channels and share documents with each other. And then we also have cloud storage productivity platforms. And these are basically places where you would be able to store documents in the cloud and collaborate with other members where they can edit these documents or download these documents. in one place. And this would be like Dropbox, Box.com, Google Drive, which is part of Google Workspace, and OneDrive, which is part of Office 365. So here's some information on the different productivity platforms. So Google Workspace is great because everything on here is really integrated when it comes to the types of documents you can collaborate on, including seamlessly being able to switch between your Google Drive and Google Docs, Google Sheets and Slides. Then you have your Gmail and your Google Calendar, which, everything being in one place is basically the goal of these productivity platforms, and being able to share with your team and produce any of these files very easily. Everything is in real time and is all cloud storage. And you have Microsoft Office 365, which is similar in its aspect when it comes to the different type of applications you can use, like Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and Outlook, basically the same things. But for Microsoft, when it comes to, say, Google Docs, Sheets, Slides, and Gmail, it provides tools for word processing, spreadsheet creation, presentation design, email management, and note-taking, very similar to what Google Workspace provides. And it's basically up to preference what you like to work with better. Where Microsoft Office 365, you can also download the applications to your computer like Word or PowerPoint, whereas with Google Workspace, everything is cloud. You don't have a choice. You can't really download anything like Google Docs as an application itself. Then we have Slack and Microsoft Teams. Slack is a team collaboration platform that facilitates real-time messaging, file sharing, and integration with various third-party apps. And then Microsoft Teams is very chat-based, just like Slack, and you can do video conferencing, file storage, all the same things. And again, it comes down to preference and what type of application you prefer to work with, and what is most seamless between the applications you use between your company and the employees. Then there's another one called Trello, and Trello is a product management platform that utilizes things called boards and lists and cards. And it's a little bit different than the other application tools like Google Workspace and Office 365 because it doesn't offer the different applications like word processors or Sheets, Excel, etc. This is more to have a visual way to manage projects and workflows and be able to switch between these boards and lists relatively easily. Now we'll move on to the forensic collection of these different platforms. It's very crucial to ensure the original data is preserved and protected from any alteration or deletion. And having a forensic expert come in and gain access to these different platforms so they can preserve every piece of data, including the timestamps, metadata, and the file themselves. Different forensic tools are used. Today we'll be talking about Celebrite and Axiom Cyber. These two tools we use at Lexby. They're great for collecting data from different cloud sources, as well as mobile device data, computer data. And then this data can also be extracted using native platforms. So if you have data in Microsoft Office 365 or Google Workspaces, these types of tools or platforms, they have this e-discovery function within them that can be managed by someone with certain administrative rights to the company, where they'll be able to basically preserve certain data and be able to pull that data down when time comes for litigation, if ever needed, and to put certain legal holds in place and make sure data doesn't get deleted or keeps track of who is going in and out of the platform and making changes to documents. So the data can be collected using a forensic tool, and then that's probably the best way to make sure that everything stays preserved, including metadata and timestamps. And then there's also the ability to collect from the platform itself. And that's great when self-collection is the only option. And with these kinds of collections, that data can then be, if it's already been previously collected, it can be sent over to a forensic expert who can then and export it out into another format. Say if you want everything in the PDF format or in load file format, we'd be able to do that as well. So what kind of data can be extracted from these productivity platforms? User account information, that's a big one. Forensic analysis often involves examining user account information such as usernames, email addresses, and access logs. This can help establish the identities of individuals involved in specific activities or communications. So if we get if we had the login credentials for the whole entire platform, we'd be able to pull user account information for each of the users. We can also log in with our forensic tools on an individual basis, so with individual credentials, and we'd be able to get their information and their logs on how they use the platform. Then we can also pull communications. So communication data, including messages, chat logs, and comments. This can be very valuable in reconstructing conversations, determining timelines, and identifying any relevant information related to the investigation. It's great being able to pull all these communications. We're able to see the data going back and forth, how you would be able to see it, say if you were looking at your phone and you see, if you're using Slack on your phone and you see the bubbles going back and forth like you would in a text message. That's how we would see it on our end after the forensic extraction. I'll show you an example of that in a little bit. One of the biggest things I think attorneys are interested in is preserving the file metadata. It's obviously very important to a case to make sure that you can prove that documents hadn't either been modified or they had been modified, accessed or created at certain dates and times, who the authors were. So extracting and analyzing metadata associated with files and documents such as creation and modification timestamps, file paths, author information, very useful information that we can gather for each piece of data that we pull from the productivity platforms. Event logs and audit trails, these are interesting ones that we can pull. So we'd be able to see, number one, for certain files, like when they were accessed or edited, we'd be able to see different versions of each document. So if you have a living document, say on Google Workspace, and each time somebody edits it, they would basically be creating a new version of that document. But on the platform itself, you would only be able to really see the latest version of it. In our forensic tools, we'd be able to see the different versions and see what times and by who these versions were created or edited, which is very useful in most investigations. Then we have deleted data and recovery. And this one's a bit of a tricky subject just because a lot of the data we'll talk about this a little more in depth, but you can potentially recover some deleted information really depending on how the platform is set up and if they have certain holds in place or what their settings are for deleted data. All right. So the first thing we're going to look at, this is an example of Magnet Axiom Cyber. When we log into the tool, we're able to select different platforms that we want to pull data from. So I've circled 4 of the productivity platforms we can pull data from. And as you can see, we can also pull data from social media accounts, email, and other platforms like Apple or Amazon. So we would come into this our tool and select which one we'd like. So today we will be going over Google. So here, after I would select Google, you'd be able to see these different options on what you want to pull from Google itself. So here you can see I can select either the Gmail messages, you can do photos, Hangouts, calendar. That's all on the left side. On the right side, you can see I can acquire activity logs, all the files and folders within the Google Drive. You can see you can also collect Google activity, basically your website or search activity on the browsers. Different apps connected to Google, timeline locations, which includes the timeline or the locations, the target visited that were captured on Google Timeline. You can pull passwords for Google accounts and different passwords, credentials to access the different connected apps as well. And also recent devices that were connected to the account. So which phones, which computers, etc., were connected to this Google account. I did an example where I pulled my own Google account and basically selected as much as humanly possible. And here's what I would see on my end and the type of data we would be able to analyze. So on the left, you'll be able to see there were a total of 5,179 items that were pulled from my account. And I did a time frame. So I only did for a short amount of time. So it's not pulling every single thing from my Google account, which is good when an investigation is happening and you're only interested in a specific time range or date range. We would be able to modify our collection to only collect those specific dates or files that fall into those specific dates. Here you can see that you can get information, different audio that's saved to my account, different pictures, and some Facebook information that's saved on my account, or probably because my Google account and my Facebook are linked. You can see we can collect calendar data, Gmail, all the different messages I have, attachments for all those emails that I pulled. Right side, you see the different types of documents that I pulled from my account. You can see my Google Drive activity, so things going in and out when I access it. You can also see the application usage like we spoke about, Cloud Google connected apps. So I have 4 connected that I was using during that time range. And you can also see I have an encrypted file on my Google account, and you can also get my Maps location. So if I was using my Google Maps app on my phone, this is all linked to my Google account, so I'm going to be able to get that information on location as well. And here's an example of the different edits and that can be made to the document. And you can see I kind of blanked out a lot of information just because it's personal, but you can see in the middle you have the time and date. This is the metadata for each document when certain changes were made. And then a little to the right, you see the action. So what was done? So edit was made on 6/7/2023 at 5:38 p.m. Just before that, I renamed the document. You see all the different edits, and then even permission change. I made a permission change on 5/31/2023 at 4 p.m. And this is great like we were talking about, the different types of edits that can be made to certain documents, and we'd be able to track all that information by pulling their Google account. Right, now we're moved on to our other forensic tool to show a different type of collection, Celebrate. And here are all the different apps we can pull from Celebrate, and I, circled or squared all the different collaboration tools that they offer us to pull from by using the credentials. This is different because Celebrate, instead of having one category like Axiom does, say for Google, it breaks everything down into different applications within Google. So it's easier to select just specific information if we're only looking to pull Gmail, say, from a Google account, or only looking to collect, their calendar. You can only it's a little more granular. Whereas Axiom, you pick you pick the pieces you'd like to extract once you pick the tool itself. Also, the Office 365 information you can see, you can pull OneDrive and Slack. So for this example, I pulled Slack data. And as you can see on the left, I can select which dates or time frame I wanted to pull data from. And the different, you see on the bottom left, it will ask you what information from your Slack do you want to extract. So I just picked everything. I can grab my messages, my contacts, profile information, calls made, and user activity. Now on the right, this is what it would look like once the collection is complete. And I can see all the different artifacts that I can pull out of my Slack account. From the messages, from my contacts, it categorizes the media, so any images that were sent back and forth within Slack. And there's also a cool one, which is the search and web, and that's kind of the main category. And then I have searched items. So this is when I would be in my Slack account, and I could type in something in the search bar at the top if I'm looking for a specific conversation or keyword. So this tracks that as well. So I'll be able to pull that information, which could be helpful as well. And then this is an example of what it looks like. I spoke earlier about how you can see the different bubbles in a conversation. You can see that on the right. It will show the date and time of each message, and then the back and forth between us. So you can very clearly see who's messaging who in this case. In the middle, you can also see information about the participants. If you notice, I know it's a little small, but the first 4 would be private messages between 2 people. You can tell that difference because on the 5th line item down, this has channel information. So it would be able to see this was in the channel and there were multiple users within that channel messaging back and forth. Whereas that's not the case for the first 4 chats going on. So this is great. And then the data can be exported out into any format, whether it's load file format, PDF. You can even be exported into Excel format if you like, which is easy for searching and filtering. But the load file format, that's the best way if you're trying to get the data into a review platform. So, and then obviously PDF is great to have everything laid out on a document in that bubble format so you'd be able to see the messages back and forth. Next, we'll talk about deleted data. So this is it's a tricky one because everything is cloud-based. So most cloud platforms, they have some type of recycle bin or trash can, and if you want to delete something, it gets moved over to that location. But these items can be restored from that location within a certain period of time. So I know platforms like Google, they have a 30-day limit for something to stay in the recycle bin or trash can. And then once that limit is up, the data gets permanently deleted from the platform. So there's kind of a limited amount of time that we can go in and get whatever has been deleted and get that recovered. Just because these platforms, the data is all being saved on a server somewhere, and they like to purge their server to free up space. And first thing that goes would be any deleted data. So when it comes to permanent deletion, like I said, after a certain period of time or upon user confirmation, deleted data can be permanently removed from the platform. And then productivity platforms may have some type of data retention policy that determines how long deleted data is kept in the system before it's permanently purged. And these policies may differ based upon data type, such as emails, documents or files, etc. And this can typically be set in place by the administrator of the account when they're setting up their different retention policies. Now, when it comes to backup recovery, some productivity platforms offer backup and recovery options, allowing users or administrators to restore deleted data from a backup system. But it's important to note that this depends on the platform's specific backup practices and configurations. If that type of backup does exist, it may be a different type of recovery process where you'd have to contact the platform itself to get that backup. And then we have third-party integration. So if productivity platforms are integrated with third-party applications or services, the handling of deleted data may also depend on the policies and practices of those integrations. For example, if a file is stored in a linked cloud storage service, it may have its own retention and deletion policy different than the productivity platform itself. And then here's a little more information about the exports that we can do. So this is an example from Axiom. Shows a different type of export formats. So we can do the main ones like load file, PDF, Excel, CSV. And then there are also other ones like HTML, which would be good if you're just reviewing if you just want to review the data on your computer, more for just being able to look at data rather than being able to do anything more intense like you would be able to in a review platform. And then there's also things like portable cases or magnet review, which we'd be able to basically give you a copy of the data from the review platform itself so that you can review it within the same review platform on your computer. You get basically a temporary license to be able to use that or a forensic tool if you wanted to, if you had experience with reviewing data that way. And that's better for if we had to collect data and send it over to another forensic firm who had to look at the data and extract information from it for their clients. And here's a little information on the load file, just because this is, I think, one of the best features for exporting, since we're in the business of getting the data into our review platform. Having this option in both Celebrate and Axiom is great. And other tools, forensic tools, also offer this, including X1 Discovery. So you'd be able to extract the data in load file format, and then those load files basically look like this. You have the DAT file, and then you have a natives and text folder, and everything can easily be uploaded into review platforms like Lexme. All right, so some key takeaways from today's webinar. Productivity platforms are designed to simplify and optimize work processes, foster collaboration, and improve overall efficiency within organizations and among individuals. They provide a unified and streamlined environment for managing and executing tasks, communicating with team members, and organizing and accessing information, all aimed at enhancing productivity and achieving desired outcomes. It sounds like I'm trying to sell one of these platforms, but I'm not, I swear. Just kind of like an overview of this. All right, they have an abundance of different data and information that can be retrieved from these platforms like O365, Slack, Google, and much more. Forensic collections retain that metadata and keep all extractions in a forensically sound state that can be reviewed, and none of the data itself has been altered or touched in any way. And then deleted data may be retrievable depending on the platform and depending on the amount of time it's been since data has been deleted. All right, and that's it for me today. Thank you guys for spending a little time with me, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Nick. That was a great overview of what data can be collected from these platforms and the capabilities of the different forensic tools that you utilize in the LexB Digital Forensics Lab. As Nick mentioned, LexB helps law firms and enterprises address the forensic collections and e-discovery, including the cloud productivity platforms that we covered today. At LexB, we provide comprehensive remote and on-site forensic collections that are fully defensible. We utilize industry-leading tools like Cellebrite and Axiom Magnet. We handle a very wide range of device and account types, as you can see on this partial list. Now I'd like to ask our next polling question, and that is, do you have a forensic collection project, and would you like a complimentary consult? All right, I'll go ahead and close that poll. We work with a lot of boutique law firms, and when they come to us, they often have some combination of these issues that we hear. I don't have enough time to build my case. I'm afraid I'll be outgunned by the opposing counsel. Our team has limited technical competency. We have a very limited e-discovery budget. The case involves millions of documents, or we have a relatively small staff. We're seeing some of these magnified in the current economic environment where many of our boutique firm clients are experiencing strong growth at the expense of big law. Enterprises are working to cut legal services costs, and many of our clients are in growth mode and leverage us extensively to help address the issues of document-intensive matters. So this is what we do. We help legal teams with limited resources successfully handle document-intensive matters. Our platform is lightning fast and gives you the time you need to build a stronger case. We get you from document ingestion to review faster. We're the most affordable e-discovery solution on the market, and we'd be happy to provide you with a competitive estimate for your next case. We have an advanced digital forensics lab headed up by Nick to assist with evidence acquisition. We also have an ACED certified professional services staff consisting of lawyers and litigation paralegals that can assist you on a moment's notice. And we have advanced AI algorithms that can help streamline your review process and help you find the evidence you need for your case. On this slide, you'll see David Jones was concerned that he would be outgunned by his AmLaw opposition. He quickly realized that LexB was a great equalizer and helped him build his best case that delivered a winning verdict. Paige Tackett at Thompson Co. needed LexB's speed to get some productions out the door to meet deadlines. As I mentioned, LexB is lightning fast and gets you from document ingestion to productions faster. And as Paige noted here as well, we are rated as the e-discovery company that has the best customer service. On this slide, you'll see Patrick Biggins needed an easy-to-use e-discovery platform to handle document-intensive cases for his boutique law firm. LexB got him onboarded fast and provided the support they needed to build a strong case. With LexB's e-discovery platform hosted at Amazon Web Services, you get on-demand capabilities that scale to address the needs of your case. With Lexbee's cloud infrastructure, you can get from document ingestion to review faster, and get your productions out the door faster. We really focus on equipping you with a platform that gives you the additional time you need to really build a strong case. And that's one of the key benefits of the Lexbee Discovery platform. All of your remote or mobile connected employees can access the Lexbee Discovery platform via web browser. It works great on Macs, PCs, iPhones, and Android devices, although wouldn't recommend doing a large document review on an iPhone. That would definitely be hard on the eyes. But this gives you unprecedented flexibility and efficiency. I also wanted to point out that Lexbee is a single end-to-end e-discovery platform. Unlike many e-discovery providers, you don't have to wait to move your data from one solution to another and deal with the costs associated with that. Lexbee has fully integrated processing, document review, analytics, case timelining, artificial intelligence algorithms, and production capabilities. We easily handle the smallest of cases to the largest of cases and scale infinitely. Instead of AI, I often like to call this EI, as in evidentiary intelligence. So we've got a whole host of AI algorithms that help you quickly navigate massive data sets, maintain control of your cases, and even if it's cross-border litigation, and gain time you need to build a strong case. So Lexbee's AI algorithms perform multimedia file transcription and search, language detection and translation, sentiment analysis, entity detection, image recognition, so you can automatically categorize photos based upon the content of those photos. We have predictive coding, near duplication groupings, document comparison, advanced email threading, and much more. At Lexbee, we continue to innovate the Lexbee Discovery platform, which not only means your Lexbee subscription continuously improves, but we're also creating additional efficiencies, and we pass those cost savings on to customers. That's why we don't charge you for processing, file promotion, early case assessment, user fees, OCR, productions. We don't nickel and dime you with electronic endorsement charges, and we save you money on the hosting as well. If you've got clients that are trying to cut their legal services spend, and we're seeing this a lot due to the recessionary climate, then you should experience a demo of Lexbee. It only takes 10 minutes, and you'll see what you've been missing. We give you more time to build a strong case by getting you from document ingestion to review faster, and we get your productions out the door faster. And with that, I'll ask our last polling question. Would you like a demo of the Lexbee Discovery platform? While you're answering that, I'd like to thank you for attending today's session. We'll be making the following available to webinar attendees: a recorded streaming version, an MP3 podcast, as well as a PDF. Please let us know if you have any questions or comments about this webinar or suggestions for future topics. This webinar is part of the Lexbee Discovery webinar series. For notices of future live and on-demand webinars as part of this series, please email us at webinars@lexbee.com or follow us on LinkedIn. We also post a lot of videos and e-discovery best practices content on our LinkedIn page, so make sure to follow us there. Also, we'd like your advice regarding our webinar series. Please complete the survey at the end of today's session. It helps us continuously improve this program and cover the digital forensic and e-discovery topics that are most relevant to you. And with that, I'd like to thank Nick for presenting today, and thank you for attending. Be sure to follow Lexbee on LinkedIn so you'll be alerted to the latest podcasts and webinar episodes. And watch your inbox for an invite to our next webinar on best practices in e-discovery and digital forensics. Take care.